This is Fictional Problems, the podcast where we discuss all things writing, in association with Speculative Fiction Ireland. On today's episode, Episode 2, Part 1, we talk about where do we get our ideas. We talk about the form of our inspiration. We ask, is fanfic even writing? We also ask, am I ready to hit publish? And we talk about series structure. Join us.
And here we are back with more fictional problems.
More fictional problems. The never-ending list of fictional problems that we have.
Absolutely. With me, Alan McNevin,
And Gary Martin.
welcome back. I don't know why I'm talking in such a...
It must be the heat.
Yes, it's the fucking heat.
It must be the heat. No AC.
So today on our agenda, the question of the hour is, where does our inspiration come from? So this is going to be
Where do you get your ideas?
a
Here.
specific to general. The initial answer I'd have is everywhere.
Everywhere you look around.
That there is, whether it be, like there's everything from driving in the car to just having a conversation with someone, to being in work, to play or work or whatever. There is potential inspiration out there. If you
have a conversation, and you could go, okay, I can work with this.
Yeah, it's essentially, as in any story that you even read, is having a conversation with you. It is presenting information, and you then go, okay, and then at some point, if you're anything like me, you may decide, no, I didn't want that to happen.
I'm altering reality now from the story I heard to what would make it more entertaining.
Yes, and this isn't just this is what these are my book friends or my TV friends, and I don't want them to break up, or I want them to survive. There will be a point of no return, or there is a question that you can either go left or right, and they go one way, and you want them to go another way. As soon as that happens, that's a new story. Yeah,
It becomes something itself.
Yes, and then you can even wind it back, and suddenly by stripping off, I am a hater of fan fiction. I don't think it is in any way good, in the sense of, as in good being a way to help you write.
Okay,
I know that many people disagree with me on this.
I was going to say, there's talented people out there that decide to write fan fiction,
but I didn't say that they weren't talented. I said that it doesn't help them in the development in their writing. Yeah, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, world building, I think, is fundamental, and the action of fanfic is you are accepting the vast majority of the answers given by someone else. Yeah,
you're taking the baton for the last couple of 100 meters of the race.
Yes.
You're kind of no, I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah, and you can then change it to it's weak in my mind. Also, because I think the world building is such a strong part of every story, or the writing process, that you're never going to learn how.
Well, would it be not maybe a safer thing to say, not safer, but slightly more accurate, because there are people that write fan fiction, not that we're getting into fan fiction as a topic, but people that write fan fiction, there are certain skills that they will develop in doing that, like creating a story or kind of leading a narrative a particular way. Sure, they're missing out on, like, they didn't create the world or the characters or the mythos or lore or anything like that. They're just co-opting it, but they are still writing a new story
in as close a way to reflect someone else's writing style as possible.
Okay.
So they're not writing for themselves. They're writing in someone else's style. And while that can be, it is a I would say it's a handicap someone's placing on themselves right away. But to skip off that, or
move along.
We'll get back to that.
It's like someone said fan fiction. Okay,
and that just triggered me. I was watching a clip from the Star Trek TNG episode Nth Degree.
Okay.
The episode where Barclay gets super intelligent, which is lovely. I think Dwight Schultz is a great actor. He's from being Murdoch in Babylon 5. Sorry, he was in Babylon 5, but he was Murdoch in the A-Team. That he shows this person who's fully introvert, and then he just blooms out. Yeah. And I remember. It's one of, that is peak TNG. That's peak sci-fi for me. I was watching it and in mind for this podcast, in that if you take away the kind of the second act, third act threat.
Yeah.
Once they resolve the problem with the Argus reactors and they've fixed the main problem, the problem then becomes Barclay himself. That he expands and he decides, I'm going to take you off the center of the universe. What if that's the case of? What if that is a pilot episode of a TV show? Strip out all of Star Trek, make it fully independent. That there was a guy who got a reaction as a bee sting. It was interacted with an alien, became too intelligent, plugged themselves into a machine or into a starship, and suddenly
they go rogue.
No, not that they go. Well, yes, they could go rogue, but that you now have this ship then gets brought back to the starbase, and they go, yeah, we can't get him out, but that doesn't mean we don't have to use him. So suddenly you have this at the core of whether it be, and then you can set the advance of how advanced is that starship. Is it cutting edge so we can't get rid of it, or is it just a bucket? And now this guy is making changes to it, making advances to it. So suddenly it can make star jumps, or can go hyperspace, or can whatever technology you're putting onto it. It can do things that because of this main processor, this main person, and that you can say whether that is a person or a plot device. Because Barclay then essentially becomes a plot device in the latter part of that episode. So essentially, you take Nth Degree, a lovely episode, you then strip it down to a single thing, and you make a change.
And you're away at the races.
Yes, you then populate it with a crew. So the crew is completely new, of your own design. The world is the world and world building is all of your own design. All you're saying is that there and the process which resulted in this, and the reason why I mentioned the beasting is that's a throwaway line in the episode. It's like, he's not dangerous. He could be just reacting to a bee sting.
Yeah.
As in, they don't know at that time. They didn't know the cause. So, or then there's other people out there who want to replicate it, but we can't get him out of the starship. He'll object to being removed from the starship. So let him go. And you say, well, why put this? Why allow this independent entity out there?
Yeah. So you're essentially saying that you can draw inspiration from TV shows that you
that's an oversimplification of the text. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well,
yes, you can be inspired by TV shows. Yes,
just bringing it down. Just bring it down. No, I suppose specifically a particular idea, once stripped back,
yes,
maintains its value, and as a writer, you can adapt that yourself.
Yeah, that you don't need that, as maybe we put a little code on the fanfic thing. You don't need everything from that other writer.
Yeah,
and everything, all the other stuff from that other writer is burdensome, because you are not writing something unique. You're not writing something for yourself. You're not writing something of yourself. You're writing that, and even though, and this is, I think of this as an important thing from an inspiration point of view, and you may agree or disagree with this, that since we have a fairly good idea of where the inspiration is coming from, we know that the threads are coming from, as in, I know that when I write X, Y, and Z, that this is coming from, inspired from J. Max Straczynski, or this is coming from other cancelled writers like Joss Whedon. As in, Joss Whedon's work I cannot say that hasn't had an influence, or Mark Greenhagen, the guy who wrote Vampire the Masquerade. These are all things that I know are part of my kind of inspirational makeup as I write. So I know that when I'm writing in a certain way, I have to tack away from it, or have to go, okay, that's just me riffing on that character from that show.
I mean, I would say a massive source of inspiration for me when I first started, say, reading fantasy would have been David Gemmell, for example. Yeah. David Gemmell, he remains my favorite author. It's his style, the characters, just the grounded realism. I can see all of that in what I've written.
Sure.
I can see it, because that was a lot of what I was aiming for. I was not to replicate in someone else's style, but to modify and adapt.
Yeah,
a style I really respected, and stories that were just brilliant. As far as I'm concerned, I'd put David Gemmell fairly high up there in my fantasy author list, if not probably number one.
Okay.
Probably number one. So naturally enough, having enjoyed the David Gemmell stories so much and so well, naturally enough, when I turned to writing, that's the crutch I'd be leaning on to begin with.
Sure, I think that's calling it a crutch is I think both an accuracy and an inaccuracy at the same time, because it is I can absolutely understand what you're saying, and I'm objecting to it at the same time.
I heard it as I was saying it.
Yeah. That there is a sense of, yes, these things will forever be in our minds. Mm-hmm. That we want to not replicate, but these things have inspired us.
Yes,
these things have triggered our imaginations, mm-hmm. And there is a certain amount of distance that we have to move and be comfortable in moving away from that point, while continuing on. The thing you want to do. Like, say, one of the things I'm working on at the present is a grounded X-Filesian serial killer kind of preternatural kind of idea, and I want to stay inside that pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So how far can I move away from there without slipping into another different pocket? As in I only want the supernatural elements to carry a certain amount of weight.
Yeah.
For example, in X-Files, there was always a case of that Mulder saw things and Scully did not.
Mm-hmm.
How can, is that something that I want to go, no, Scully will see this stuff right away, as an example?
Yeah, well, that dynamic is kind of what worked for the show. Is a question of, yes, we have the believer and the skeptic.
Yes.
And they're diametrically opposed.
Yes.
And through those two characters being diametrically opposed, the audience gets to see everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what made, I think that's what made the show work.
Yes.
It was the dynamic, and it was...
But you're aiming to create something different from there.
Sure.
And I think these are the questions that both, because you're overtly making changes.
Yeah.
And you're intentionally going, this can't be the same. These two things can't be the same.
Yeah.
That I'm not riffing on. I want to make something of my own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be a case of, say, even taking inspiration from the likes of David Gemmell.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I've ever modeled a character in what I've written on any specific character that David Gemmell has written. I can, or even, I wouldn't be aware of any even particular similar scenario to a point where it's okay. You have the grander themes in warfare, so you're not going to avoid certain similarities. But like types of characters, their interaction, even the world that it's based in is. I wouldn't say I've read that in David Gemmell.
Okay,
but suppose the inspiration is kind of more singular insofar it's the encompassing. It's the overall feeling from reading the novel, and it's the overall satisfaction from such a good and entertaining story with marvelous, well-developed characters that are doing great heroic things. You go, okay, that's the kernel. but everything else that I feel I've written would be distinct.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. So just actually, I'm going to kind of push back on what you said. So the form of the inspiration is both from the text and from your interpretation of
yes, it'd be my experience of it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I guess holding Deathly Daughter, which I imagine we'll repeat over until one of us dies. Me. That so the effect you had that those novels had on you, you want to then not reflect back, but in almost in a prismatic way through the talent, which is the prism, which is your talent. Take those themes, those other elements from your own life, from the other things that you inspired for through this, and
it's going to be filtered, isn't it? It's obviously going to everything that's written is filtered through the writer's own experience, I think.
And the thing is, that is, I think, of the game. I could we could subtitle this thing where Al goes off on fan fiction again, because
he's holding up a banner now saying no fan fiction. Just for anyone that can't see it,
I have a white pad in front of me. I'm scrolling
no fan fiction. I'm like, come on, man, that's fine.
Because folks who do write fan fiction are not doing that. They are not doing it through their own lens. They are aiming to produce something through someone else's lens. And I will say this as a gift: if you are ever moving into the realm of, which 20 years ago you might build writing for a TV show, or writing for a computer game company, where you have to marry the same dialogue style from a scene that someone else in the company has written. Like big games companies have got large writing or small to large writing staffs, and they're not necessarily all writing the same stuff. One writer will go write scenes 1, 3, 7, 9, 11, and then another writer will come in and fill the other.
Sure.
So, and from interaction, they should produce a nice streamlined version, and they should have their own Bibles and their own prep docs that allow them to get there. So I will say writing writing fanfic does allow you to develop that kind of mirroring skill set, which wouldn't, I think, help for your own writing, but does help for if you are to produce something in a commercial, in a assembly line commercial way.
I can see that,
because you're not in those situations, whether you're writing for a TV show, or you're even say if you're rewriting someone else's script, you want your rewrites to be seamlessly integrated into that. You don't want suddenly these jokes appearing out of nowhere.
It's like that character never cracked a joke in the entire history of the show, and next minute they're like on stage. Doing stand up. And
I think there's I heard that the script for Speed was essentially heavily rewritten by Joss Whedon. That all the actual credited writer went to the point of saying, I don't think this should be credited to me anymore. It was so radically different.
Okay.
I don't think it was that. I might be confusing two anecdotes, but I know that Jeff Daniels' character initially died in the elevator in page 20, while actually he dies later on page 80, and that was partly of the introduction, the pop quiz introduction, or the thing was apparently a Whedon introduction. Okay. So that becomes the touchstone through which
standout,
the villain and the hero are interacting. It's like pop quiz, the bus is going 50 miles an hour. You have to wonder also, what was the line that was removed?
Yeah,
the what was in the original script, but I've done my bit and given fan fiction a little bit
of credit,
a little bit.
No. Okay.
Back in the day,
get off fanfics down.
No, but back in the day, I used to write screenplays on teleplays on Spec, as I had a literary agent in Hollywood. This is I had very, very, very minor levels of success, and I had a few options. So I'm what happens when you fail.
Oh.
Yes, and I'm not sorry. Given what's happening in LA right now, I'm really not. But so I've still in my hard drive. I know I wrote on spec Stargate Atlantis scripts, Mutant X. I wrote a Firefly script, which I really liked, called Writer's Block. So it is writing within those universes. While you could say it's, I know you're trying to say that it's a good thing. It's like it only makes you better at writing in those universes. And actually, that statement probably will come back to haunt me. And I will freely accept.
I think it's a good thing because it is writing, first and foremost. So all writing is good. No, and I'm saying no, not all writing is good. But the act of wanting to write, so someone coming to writing and deciding this is a nice, easy, soft entry into learning how to write. I don't have to burden myself with all that. I can't come up
skill set.
I can't come up with a world right now. I'm just going to carry on. Let's see what happens when Starbuck and Apollo do something else from Battle Star Galactica, right? Just because everything's there, and it's pret-a-porter. You just in you go and just start. If you've no clue, you haven't written before, I think it's not a bad introduction to at least cut your teeth a little bit.
I can see where you're coming from this, and I'm going to disagree. Because I think that the world building is so vitally important that because you are, when you have Starbuck and Apollo doing a thing, you are limited in scope to what they went for. Otherwise, then you're not writing.
No, I'm talking about as literary exercises, not.
But I'm talking about that too.
Like starting off. But I mean, start as you mean to continue, I suppose, would be the other thing. Is on the flip side of that, you just go, well, no, I'm not going to ease myself in. I'm going to give it a go from the start. I'm going to create a world. I'm going to, do everything myself. The whole lore, mythos, everything. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come up with myself, and that's part of the challenge. I think that's almost as fun.
Yes,
it's definitely fun.
It is.
But I'm just saying that there could be for certain people, because everybody's approaching these things differently.
Sure.
So I'm just saying for a group of people, that's a nice way for them to get into writing, and they might leave it behind once they develop a bit of skill. And I'm just saying it might be a nice way to move into the writing realm. If that was the only avenue you had in, it's not bad.
If it's the only avenue you have,
do you know what?
That's reductive.
Okay. But if that's just it's a personal thing, for that individual,
I get that.
They're overwhelmed by. But do everything
at the start of this, and just to go back to the idea of the nth degree Barclay superpower computer thing. We just did all the world building you need to know for that, and we don't need to know all the worlds in all the places. We don't know. You need to know what Barclay did when he was 7 years old. We don't know his first love. We don't need to know his scholastic background. There's all these questions that can be built up later. Now, I would say that. And indeed, this is actually something that probably I would refer to as another time with the question of how we write. That until you hit publish, until you go, I'm done. That work is in flux.
Yeah.
That I don't know how I know that what your first book was in the 500, 600 page range.
Was 300? 399.
Wow. It looks a lot thicker on my shelf.
It's not terribly voluminous at all.
And the current one is already hidden, that, is it?
I think that the current one will be slightly larger.
Great, okay.
It's a middle book. Yeah, you got to put meat in the sandwich again.
Yeah, that's good. That's true with all my stuff. I've got short first books and really long second books.
Yeah.
The book isn't locked in. All the facts of that book aren't locked in until you are done.
Sure.
So. Yeah. You can find the character. We were talking about Panzer and Plotter before. You can find elements of that character that you need to have for that story.
Yeah.
And then you can decide, okay, I've made the decision that this character goes this way. that they choose not to intervene in the life cycle of a planet. Then you realize, okay, that is a significant step for that character.
Yeah.
You have plans for book 2, book 3, book 4, or the next things, and either you have to make a decision before you hit publish on book 1, whether or not you want to have to deal with that as a conflict, or you want to remove it to allow you want some conflict, but you don't want to be overburdened. You don't want a character to be hypocritical in their actions. So do you want to remove that decision, change book 1 to allow book 2, book 3 to be smoother, or do you go, no, I want to, and this is part of my organic pantser rather than plotter.
Is it a case of, if you are writing a series, you're drawing inspiration from other series that or could you be drawing inspiration from a standalone work?
Both. There's no limitation.
Yeah, but just in the manner in which a series arcs, do you know that like, is there a value in drawing inspiration from series if you're doing a series, or is it better to draw inspiration from, say, a standalone if you're doing a standalone? Do you think it makes a difference?
In that there is a slight bit more emphasis on closing off the loop in a standalone, if that's your intent, because then an intended standalone can then become the first then you can build a sequel on it. If the intent is to build a series, this is something that question that I've had for myself this week, in that I was looking back on a finished novel that I have that I was going to send on to you, and I was kind of reviewing things, and again making double checking these decisions that I made, and is it ready in my mind to be shown to someone? So do I make that? So am I ready to hit publish? Essentially, even in the small way of being able to give it to an advanced reader and go, tell me what you think.
I've stopped tinkering with it. Yeah, until you come back to me.
Exactly. So those are questions are still are still actively in my mind about that one piece, because I'm currently, as when I open workbook, when I open works is a sequel to it.
Yeah.
So I'm essentially, while writing the sequel to it, I am revisiting the first one. So the idea is, so in this sense, from a series point of view, I'm trying to button off the first story in a sufficient way that it can be, from a commercial point of view, seen as a single piece.
Yeah.
That I'm not just cutting things up, going, okay, I've read 400 pages, chop. I've read 400 pages, chop. I've read 400 pages. You want there to be, okay, well, the natural end for this, the event that brings this novel to a close,
has to make sense.
Yeah. It happens in 360 rather than 420.
Yeah.
That's where it chops. And that all the things that I'm building in there, I'm happy with, so that I can work on book 2, book 3, book 4.
Yeah.
And the idea of having almost, the idea with this project is to have book 2, book 1, 2, and 3, they're novella length. I think the first one is just under 300 pages.
Mm-hmm.
The idea being writing kind of shorter works, being brief, having brevity as part of a series.
Yeah, no, I just kind of I totally get that, and that's kind of similar to what I would do as well. It's just say when you think of, like, you're doing a series, so you would think of like the big trilogies that are out there, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the originals 3, and kind of go, is that a way I will design my series? As in, will I stand alone episode 1 and then maybe join 2 and 3 together in timeline?
Sure.
Rather closely.
Yeah.
Or that's what I mean. It's like, is it my series, each book is in the series, but it's maybe hundreds of years apart? Or, do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, like foundation.
Yeah. Is it a case of, would you be inclined to draw on, say, this similar system that Star Wars employs, which is, here's this standalone, it could disappear into the night and be gone, and nothing else would change. But now we have 2 and 3, which are very closely linked, and the action seems to carry straight through.
Sure. Well, yes. Then you, that's there's no limitation there. Yeah, actually, this is the question of where does your inspiration come from? Anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere. Thank you for listening to Fictional Problems, Episode 2, Part 1, in association with Speculative Fiction Ireland. In the next part of this episode, we'll be discussing the benefits of failing to be your favourite writer. We'll be talking about success from failure and how what you hate might inspire you, as well as rewriting a spin-off of a popular space opera you might know. Join us.